Councillor Perks, you have the floor.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Speaker. I think it's worth remembering what this intersection is and what it means to the City of Toronto. Councillor Moscow began to speak about it.
Okay, order.
There we go. Councillor Moscow began to speak about it when he talked about the importance of this intersection, but I think it's also worth remembering that it's where the new Eglinton light rail line will intersect the subway. So that light rail line will be the most important crosstown connection in the entire transit network in the City of Toronto. It will be the longest single rapid transit line in the city. Its design is not yet complete. We don't know exactly how it's going to interact with the subway there, how far down it goes, and that's an important question because the distance something is below a building that you are developing determines how expensive it is to put the pilings there, how expensive it is to shore up a tall building, and once that expense is figured in, it also, therefore, has an impact on what kind of development you want to put on that site. What is an economic development to put on that site? So we're being asked to make a judgment about a question that we don't have all the information in on yet. And we're being asked to write in an absolute tying of our hands on how that most important intersection in the transit network in the City of Toronto is going to work. I think that's folly. I also think it's folly when we start looking at the parts of the city where in our own official plan we want to direct growth and to start constraining them and constraining them and constraining them. We have to remember that the provincial Places to Grow legislation says we're going to be taking a bunch of population in this city. We have to remember the city's official plan says, yes, we're taking a bunch of population in the city. And if we start constraining the sites that make the most sense for development, where does that development go? Where does it go? Does it continue as urban sprawl? Does it begin to bleed into stable neighborhoods? Does it go on employment lands? There are a lot of interrelated questions that that Councillor Walker's motion will tie our hands on. And
40 floors.
And those are important considerations that Council should have in mind when they debate an actual proposal in front of us. And as to whether or not that should be something that is, vulnerable to political interference, I'm one of those on this Council who's not embarrassed to admit that this is a political body. This is where we do the politics of the City of Toronto. This is where we weigh the options. This is where we decide amongst interests. This is where we try to guide the city. This is where we try to guide the city's future with political thinking in mind. That's our purpose. We have no other purpose. So, do we want to bind our hands in terms of how the city grows? Do we want to bind our hands in terms of this critical intersection when we don't have the information in yet on how the Eglinton line that's going to cross the entire City of Toronto is going to operate? I don't think so. I think that's a political question, and I think City Council should decide that when there's an actual proposal on the table. Thank you.